But yeah, this was the first track here in the TrackMania Grand League Season 1, Step 2. And it is a track that has returned from Step 1. It is Brightside. Used to be map number 6 in Step 1, where I was barely able to clinch in my points. I got 8th on Brightside in Step 1, just by a hair. So yeah, safe to say this is not a good map for me. I initially thought I'm gonna perform better, but Step 1 proved otherwise. So yeah, I was trying to, you know, perform better than what I did in Step 1, now that we have the chance to play it again in Step 2. However, here, map 1, of course, no point loss. Neither do we have point loss in map 2 and map 3. So let's go here with lap number 1 on Brightside. This time around, everyone was actually able to play, so everyone got onto the server. Marcin was also finally able to play, so that's nice. So we have been able to compete with all 16 champions here for step number 2. Lap 1, average start, nothing too exciting. That was not the worst start and not the best one either. This was a start like any other, nothing too terrible here. And yeah, here is where small Monka-esque moment kicked in. I went too wide and almost flipped my car. That was kind of an unnecessary risk that I was willing to take at that point. And it didn't gain me anything. I lost time, like 0.4 or something. So that was definitely a wonky beginning into step number 1. Coming up to the identity, this was a good quarter pipe jump. Nothing too terrible. And here, what do you think happened here? That looked off, right? Why did I switch my camera 800 billion times in 1 second? The answer is a faulty gamepad. I indeed have problems with my gamepad. My 2 shoulder buttons, left and right, the 2 bumpers, when I press a button, it sometimes double or triple presses. So that fucked me up completely here, and you will see what happens. So here, tuck, tuck, tuck. I was like, what the fuck is happening? It completely got me off guard and I fell. So this was the most terrible start into step 1 you could ever have. So I was dead last by 5.5 seconds in lap 1. So I was like, fuck. This step is already gonna be terrible. It didn't really hit me too much because I knew it was only map 1. But having a rough start like this, I knew people are gonna laugh about me. People are gonna giggle all over the place. But yeah, I just kept going. And maybe I could get a couple positions higher on the scoreboard in case people make some mistakes. But yeah, that pad issue, I need to look into it. I paid 180 euro for my gamepad and now it's already showing weaknesses like that after, like, what, 2 months maybe of using it? So yeah, I need to, I don't know, try to fix it maybe myself. Or I return it and ask for a new one. But yeah, that was not the greatest thing. And the risk of this happening was of course there all the time. The left shoulder button I used to toggle the interface on and off. The right one is for camera changes. So I knew it could happen at any time. And considering that some tracks actually did require cam changes, such as this one, or such as oh, what's the map with the no steer? I forgot how it's called. The no steer map 4. Also that one requires a cam change, at least for me. And yeah, I knew it was a possibility. So that sucked. But yeah, anyway, let's go into the race here. Lap number 3, I went up to 12th place, which was actually a very pleasant surprise. A couple players have already dropped down at this point. I saw Aurel and Massa. I think also Coco has made a mistake at this point. Let's take a look here. Aurel, yes, Matt, Massa and Coco.
Wow, 3 millennia already.
So the players behind me have apparently died even harder than me somewhere, most likely around the identity section. So that was good for me, because I certainly did not deserve to be 12th with a performance like this, but I ended up being 12th, so that was nice. Definitely not gonna complain about this. But yeah, keeping the pace up here, very, very safe identity. I was never really too fast at this identity, I was just too scared that something's gonna go wrong. So I just played it down here and tried to prevent making any further mistakes. Lap 4, still 12th place here, with pretty big gaps up to 11th, and also big gap down to 13th. So I was pretty isolated right here on P12 at the moment. And at this point I was contemplating to push it a bit further, but considering the gap, that was maybe a bit too big of a fate, so I just kept driving. Just kept driving right here. My pace otherwise was okay, I think. I think I had an okay pace. I lost probably like 2 to 3 seconds to the leader, excluding my mistake in lap 1. So that pace would have been enough for, I don't know, maybe 8th, I don't know. But yeah, doesn't matter. We're gonna find out how much it would have been worth at the end of the 6 laps. So if you're new to the TrackMania Grand League, we play 6 tracks with 6 laps each. And starting from map 4, you will lose points if you get 9th or worse. So now on the first 3 maps, it's basically just farming the crops, farming the points. And starting from map 4, those are going to be on the edge of completely getting lost if you make a massive blunder. So at this point, no real threat anymore. There was Pack actually, only 0.4 ahead of me, and also Roland has lost a little bit of time. So I was contemplating, should I maybe push and go perhaps up to 10th? Or do I just keep driving? Because Pack has a fast pace on this track and Roland as well. So catching up that gap is definitely easier said than done. So it was pretty close here around these positions. All of these players have made a mistake somewhere around the track. Carl Jr. right now 1.4 seconds ahead of Tween. Papu 2 seconds down, Spam 2 seconds down, Scrappy 2 seconds down. So the top close. And starting from the positions after P5, people lost a bit of time due to mistakes or just some more conservative driving. Very high quarter pipe jump here, which kinda diminished my chances of passing someone, because that high quarter pipe jump really cost me some time. And also here, once again, very safe around the identity. But yeah, as I said, I didn't feel very comfortable driving it fast. And at this point, I think I saw Pack, who had it equally bad as me. The gap only 900ths of a second. You can see it on the left side here. It was 8.48 and 8.55, and also Bren was within reach. So this pack of players only 1 seconds apart from each other here. 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I was smelling a chance, and I was maybe hoping for someone to make a mistake in the identity of lap 6. Let's see if that's gonna happen.
HII.
Thanks for the resubs, by the way. Sweepline for the 3 month and 5 for the 7. Thank you very much, guys. So gaps going into lap 6 were pretty much the same. Once again, very risky line. This was a bit better than what I did in lap 1 though. In lap 1 I did get a little slowdown. Here I did not. And here I actually did manage to go up to 11th place. Bren has dropped down after a little mistake. And between Pack and me it was still 500ths of a second. So Pack and me had a very, very similar pace going into lap number 6. And we both probably knew what was on the line. So it was all gonna come down to the last identity here. But yeah, once again, a little bit too high. Not too terrible, but you could clearly see that you could go lower than that. Last identity. Good speed. Actually good speed. So I kept the interface on to see if I could maybe clinch in another position. And I actually did. So Pack has dropped down to 12th place after not so good of an identity. And he lost 2 places to me and Bren. So 10th place with an 8.5 second deficit. A 7:25 6 lap time. That is definitely mediocre. But yeah, after that mistake, I think 10th place is definitely more than what I could ask for. which meant that it could only go better starting from map 2 onwards. Carl Jr. won, by the way, in front of Tween. Then we got Papu on 3rd, Scrappy on 4th, Kappa, Marcin with a very good 6th place here. Revo, Spam, Roland, myself, Bren, Pack, Matt, Aurel, Massa, and Coco, who actually hasn't been able to even reach the finish line. So Coco with 0 points after the first track. The French player for O-Serve, I don't know what he did to be 55 seconds behind. Maybe he didn't practice this at all, but that was not so good. We're gonna switch right to the next track. So this is the current standing. We have Carl Jr. with 20 points, Tween with 14. So this is the point repartition here. And I am 10th place with my 5 points. Roland also with 5 and Matt also with 5. You might ask yourself, why did Matt get 5 points? Wasn't it Bren behind me? Yes. But Matt actually had the fastest lap time on map number 1 by doing a very interesting strat that allowed him to gain a lot of time in the identity. And with that, he was able to get 2 bonus points for the fastest lap, which are going to be distributed here among the players in the Grand League. So Matt also with 5 points. Starting the warm-up here, I'm not sure if this is too interesting, so I will just skip this. Rock or Roll, map number 2, which was map number 5 in step 1. And this was a track where I did feel very comfortable on in the first step. I was having a pace for the victory, but one little mistake in step 1 actually cost me the victory. So yeah, going into step number 2, where this map has been replayed, I was trying to redeem myself, and I was maybe trying to fight for that first place this time around on Rock or Roll. A map win in the TrackMania Grand League will actually grant you 100 euros, so not only 20 points were on the line, but also 100 euro that could be obtained by winning a track here. So this was definitely something I did play with in the back of my head. But I was like, okay, if I maybe don't happen to have the pace, I'm just gonna save. But if I happen to have the pace, I'm gonna go for it. So let's find out how this track has gone. Yes. What are the stars between names and points on the scoreboard? That is a very good question here from the Twitch chat. That is a feature. It is kind of a popularity vote where people in the Twitch chat, Monka S here by the way, very close to dying. People in the Twitch chat can basically vote for their favorite champion, and depending on how many votes a player gets, he will receive an according amount of hearts in the scoreboard. That's basically how it works. So lap 1 went pretty good. I had to lift off here because I had double skid marks, and I was thinking maybe I'm gonna get an auto slide going up the hill, so I released it. But it was fine. So lap number 2 here. Not too shabby of a pace. Taking a look at the scoreboard, and I was 800s behind Carl Jr. So I was actually very well in the race for the 100 euro. I was 2nd at this point. And that basically gave me the confirmation, yes, I can fight them. Yes, I can go for the 100 euro. So at this point, I kind of knew I could go for it. It was a risk I was willing to take, obviously. You do want to get some points. But since you couldn't lose points, it was kind of justifiable. So I went for it. I went for it at this point, in the back of my head. So we go with the next identity. Also nicely executed. A bit too much of a wiggle here, but I was able to get up to first place. So here I was first by probably 0.4 or something. The identity wasn't the greatest, but it was certainly alright and definitely sufficient to remain on first place. My heartbeat was very high. Also here, once again, almost the same line. Double skids again. So I had to lift off once more. But my heartbeat was incredibly high at this point, because it was a rare sight of me being first in a TrackMania Grand League match. So I had to keep my cool, which is easier said than done. So at this point... Oops. Fuck, where have we been? Oh, we had this already. Okay. Yeah, let's just watch this again. Sorry. Hit the wrong button. So at that point, you saw Spam was 100th behind me. Here. Spam was 100th behind me. So I was like, okay, I want to beat that guy. We also had Pack, 0.4 behind, Papu 0.6, Coco 0.7, Massa 0.8, Aurel 0.8, Bren 1 sec. So look how close this was. Within the top 11, it was only 1.2 seconds. So this was disgustingly close on map 2. This was an insane battle. And I actually wasn't aware that so many people were behind me, like that close. I only saw Spam behind me. He was basically my main target at this point. So I wasn't aware that this battle was so fucking close. Okay, here we go. Identity number 3. Check. Had it pretty similarly to Spam. So going into the next lap once again as the lap leader. This was a bit better looking of a turn. Not so close to the outside pillar there. Lap number 4. Got the boost. Bit high. Not the optimal jump, but more than sufficient for a scenario like this. Where obviously now the pressure is kicking in for not only for me, but for everyone else who was involved in this battle. Everyone knew what was on the line. And here I got overtaken. Ah, fuck. 1 frame too late. Here, I knew what was on the line. And the others did as well. So it was incredibly close. Papu was able to take over the lead here. He probably had a really nasty quarter pipe transfer. So did Spam. So I was 0.27 down. To my surprise. But you gotta keep going, man. You gotta keep going. Drift was decent. Coming up to the next identity, a bit of a wonky setup. But a nice flat landing. Had to release a bit too often, but the gaps in the top 3 actually remained the same. Papu is still first, Spam still second, and me is still on third. But now, at this point, plot twist. Riolo went up to first place once again after a good turn to the left. Riolo up to P1. Ladies and gentlemen, this is unbelievable. 300s ahead of Papu and 600s ahead of Spam. So we were basically neck and neck at this point, going into lap 5 of Rock or Roll. So I still had it in my hands. Again, double skid marks, not what I wanted. Those double skid marks definitely brought my heartbeat even further up than it should have been, but hey. Once again, quarter pipe, nicely done. Staying away from the inside wall. Don't want to risk anything here. Because a touch in this uphill is very, very costly. So at this point I was able to gain 1/10 of a second over Papu and Spam. So I was first again. Bit wide of a drift here. That certainly wasn't the best. But it would all come down to the identity. Lap number 5 and... rip. Here is where I have lost my chances of winning. Because I have gotten a slowdown at the landing. My car wiggled a little bit too much. I actually couldn't really anticipate or save this. Because I thought the approach was fine, but my car wiggled a little bit too much. So this was definitely gonna get me out of the chance for the 100 euro. At this point I knew there's no need to risk, because there's no way in heaven I will get first anymore with a 0.8 deficit going into lap 6. So at this point I was like, okay, safe. Maybe someone's gonna die in the end, but safe. No risk needed, because it's basically impossible. So unfortunately this was cancelling out my chances at this point. 1.2 seconds behind, down to 5th place even. So that actually hurt me quite a bit. But I guess that's a proof for how close the fight was here on this track. Actually, really, really good fight. So, 5th place still. Coming up to the final time of the identity. This was a lot better. Too bad I didn't do this in lap number 5. And what place am I gonna get? I actually got 4th. Because Tween must have made a mistake, and he lost his position. He dropped down all the way to 5th place, and I was able to hang in tight for P4 at the end of this track, just a hair behind Papu. Spam was able to win it with 100 euro, and Carl Jr. 0.4 behind on P2. Then we have Kappa, another 6th place here. Aurel, Coco, Marcin, Roland, Pack, Massa Revolution, Bren, Matt, and Scrappy. 2 DNFs this time around, and Scrappy just yoked himself out of the track. Why didn't I record my microphone? Because I just didn't talk. I'm dead silent when I play like this. What key on my pad do I have HUD on or off? On the left shoulder button, LB on Xbox. So yeah, a little bit of chatting here, nothing too exciting. Let's go to map number 3 after we check the current score. So after map number 2, it looked as follows. Carl Jr., who would have thought? That is the biggest surprise here. Carl on first with 34, Spam up to second with 26, Papu 24, Tween 23, Kappa 17, and me with 15 points after 2 maps. Not too shabby, considering I played like ass on map 1. So that was definitely a good base to work with. Map number 3, Bullied Snake, which was the first map in step 1 where point loss was kicking in. So the warm-up, once again, not too interesting. So here we go with map number 3. Yeah, I'm sure saving replays is cool, Hugo, but in the heat of situation, I can't think of saving replays. Like, I have other things to worry about. So it would maybe be the task of casters to save the replays, but not the player's task, to be honest. So, map number 3. Some quick words about this one. I played very bad on this track in step 1. I lost my points here. Luckily not a lot, but I still lost my points here. I never felt fully comfortable on this track, and neither did I feel like I was better now going into step 2, where we play this track again. So on this track, I was just winging it, if that makes any sense. I just played my game and see where my performance is going to get me. I knew I didn't have the pace, nor the consistency. This track was just kind of a shitfest for me, to be quite fair. So I just drove, and I was trying to get it over with. So once again, I went for no slides. Didn't bother to neo slide, because I feel like these neo slides are really hard with pad, because you're in such a close space. It's super super claustrophobic in that area to do neo slides. So I just went safe, and I also decided to go safe for the upcoming jump, where most players have opted for a bug slide, but I went for the normal route, which turned out that Papu also did. Papu, who had a very good pace on this track, but he actually went for a no bug slide strategy as well. But yeah, the bug slides were just too inconsistent for me. I constantly lost my speed exiting the bug slide for whatever reason. I wasn't able to fix my problem, sadly. So I just drove. Bit of a wonky neo slide, and here I clipped the hole, went too fast into it, found myself too far right. So that whole clip could have gone worse. It luckily didn't lose me too much time, but it still lost me something, obviously. And from 9th to 11th I went, I think. So yeah, this track, I'm really happy that it's gone. This is a track that I really didn't understand. As I said, didn't really have the pace at any point. Players were just faster than me. So I accepted my fate, went for a bug slide, which was not so good, to say the least. I'm not sure why I fucked it up like that. That was just really bad. That was really, really fucking bad, but hey. Don't laugh about my bug slide. I just released way too much. Like, the thing is, I practiced going for the safe way, not bug sliding. And then I went for the bug slide because I was maybe hoping for a good one and catch up to the field again. But I didn't quite have the feel back for the bug slide, so I just, yes. Fucked it up a little bit.
You Marboy, congrats on this amazing step.
Hey,
Really
Afi.
nice.
Thank you very much. That's almost a spoiler here. Keep the spoiler level low for the YouTubers. Thank you, Afi, for the resub. And good night, Bergie. Hope you're gonna dream well after today's day. So I went safe again after my atrocious attempt of bug sliding. I went for my normal approach again. I was 10th, I think, if I saw correctly. 10th at this point. Which isn't bad. Yeah, 10th place, 4.8 seconds behind. So the pace of the leaders has actually been quite insane. But my pace hasn't necessarily been that great anyway. So 10th place is fine. I was fine with 10th place. Going around the turns here, easy peasy. Keeping the HUD on to see my positioni or not. Oh my lord, what happened there, ladies and gentlemen? It was a no slide. Riolu TM TrackMania is too trash to the Neo slide. But I know why. And I was really shaking my head when this happened. Because I have noticed my mistake instantly. Is there a slow motion thing here in this media player? Apparently not. Trash. But yeah, take a look at the brakes. Did you see that? Take a look at the brakes. I double tapped the brake. I braked too early. Then I stopped braking. Braked again. And then everything was fucked up. So this was a complete brain fart by me. I tapped the brake just out of nowhere. I just tapped my brake. Get Media Player Classic. I actually have it installed, but this is my default player. Next time I'll do Media Player Classic. Do you feel any different when playing to the in-game music? To be honest, I'm so much in the zone, I don't care what I'm listening to. I'm just focusing on my driving. I could listen to in-game OST, I could listen to my own playlist, it doesn't matter. I'm so focused on the game, I don't mind the music at all. Which is why I just play with the in-game OST, so I'm not gonna have any trouble uploading this to YouTube. So, final lap coming up. I was on P12 now, but it was close. I noticed that. It was Coco half a second ahead, Tween only 300s ahead. So Tween also not feeling too great on this track. Which made me feel a bit better at least. But yeah. Kind of an expected result. Also, I yeah, didn't play that great, so. This track, as I said, I just wanted to get over with. What about no music? I don't know about no music. Maybe I low-key need at least something, like some dingle jingle in the background. Oh, here. Did you see how fast I toggled my interface? That was also my gamepad having a stroke. Take a look at it again. It was like a 1-frame toggle. Here. Pew! Once again, my pad having a stroke. So same what happened to me on map 1 with the cam change. So final lap, just get my couple points home. Maybe hoping for someone to make a mistake. But at the end of the day, nothing happened anymore. So I had to settle with 10th place. 8.1 seconds behind. 7.15. of a 6 lap time. Papu drove absolutely insane. Papu drove a 7:06, which is one of the fastest known 6 lappers. And he just popped it right away. He also had the best lap time, as you can see. So he basically got the jackpot. First place, 100 euro, 20 points for the map win, and 2 extra points. Papu with the jackpot on map 3. He really capitalized from this one. Absolutely well done by Papu. Massive, massive shoutouts to Papu. This was insane. Then we got Carl Jr. on 2nd, Pack on 3rd, Scrappy on 4th, Matt with a very good 5th place. Then we have Spam on 6th, Bren on 7th, Marcin on 8th, Coco, myself, Revel, Orel, Roland, Tween, Kappa, and Massa. So after 3 maps, the scores will look as follows. Carl Jr. still first with 48 points, but Papu, after his jackpot, now dangerously close to passing the Canadian's ass. 46 for Papu. Spam had to let go that 2nd place. He dropped down to 3rd, as you can see by the red arrow. 34 points for Spam. Tween with 26, Scrappy with 22, Pack and myself with 20, Marcin with 19, Kappa with 19. Then we have a quadruple 14-point package with Matt, Bren, Revolution, and Orel. Roland 13, Coco 11, and Massa last with 7 points going into map number 4, where we had a 5-minute pause. So let me just skip this. I had an interview with Virtual here. So let me just check. I think it's gonna start here. Alright, so map number 4. Here is where points can be lost. So once again, if you're new to the format, now we still play the same format. We still play 6 laps. But if you get 9th or worse at the end of this map, you will lose every single point that you have gotten beforehand. Just so you know. So, map number 4, this is a new track that has been introduced with the TrackMania Grand League here. A new track that will be played in steps 2 and 3. It's called Cliffhanger, and this one is quite a good track altogether. It has a nice technical touch to it, with, I think, a fair difficulty spike. During practice, I felt very comfortable. I had some solid 6-lappers. I was able to compete with the best, but then this happened. Take a look at this again and ask yourself, is this normal or not? Take a look again. That's not normal, right? That is not normal. I have gotten a slowdown for no reason. Like here. Here is where my car had a stroke. It is not a gear change. My car just got stuck in the block and I got a slowdown. So this has already cost me almost 1 second, and it wasn't even my fault. So I was 8,500s down and I didn't do anything wrong. Very nice. So I was in the red going into lap number 1. Not the greatest confidence boost to get cucked like that. But here we come to the identity section. The identity section requires you to turn around 90 degrees. This is a no steer block. So this block that you land on is a no steer block. And the no steer block cancels your steering, as the name suggests. So you cannot steer until you reach the next checkpoint or a multi-lap. So in this case, right up ahead, there's a multi-lap. As soon as you cross it, you will get your steering back. So the important thing here is that you line yourself up properly. You need to manage your speed perfectly. Land in kind of a 90-degree rotation so you can continue straight, head on to the multi-lap and continue your race. So I landed too far with a very bad offset to the left and I almost died. So that was very, very close. And not the greatest start into this track, with me being 13th. This is very red. This is very, very red. As you can see, fuck. Again, missed it by frame. What is my luck, man? What is my luck? So yeah, I was 8200s behind 8th already at this point. So not the greatest outcome position for Riolu TM. But this identity is definitely not easy. Mistakes were bound to happen, and I knew that. So I knew if I keep up a good pace, a 1.8 second of a deficit, let's imagine carrying that all the way to the finish line. Being 1.8 second behind the leader. That's gonna be second, third, fourth place. So all good. So I knew I had the pace. I could match the pace of the best drivers here. I was pretty fast here. I just had to get my cool together and avoid making mistakes at the identity section. I knew that all along, so I had to play it clever and just focus on doing it good. So, this was a lot better. Had to slow down a little bit actually, because I had too much speed. So this was a good identity section by me. And opened up the door a little bit to get back into the green. So now I'm 11th, and it's only a 0.4 gap up to the green. So I definitely gained. We see a lot of players with big points already in the red. Papu 46, Marcin 19, me 20, Aurel 14, Matt 14, Scrappy 22, Roland 13, and Carl Jr., who forgot to turn at the identity in lap 1. That's what he said. With 48 points, last. We haven't seen this before in the TrackMania Grand League. That Carl Jr. is about to lose his points. We have seen it, I think, once ever in the TrackMania Grand League beta season, where Carl Jr. was about to lose his points, but at the end he was able to find himself, and he didn't lose his points. So he was dead last. I think he actually had to respawn and do the identity via the respawn route. So that was a very interesting surprise to most of us, I would say. Oh, and to answer the question, what is an identity? What is this content creator talking about? An identity is a part like this, which sticks out from the rest of the maps. A part that you can identify the map with. And here I did the same mistake again. I once again went too far to the left, sadly. Made contact with the wall, and that cost me valuable time. But that identity is definitely not easy to get right. I was 10th at this point, but again, I was still close to the green. So I just had to keep going. No slowdown? Amazing. I had that slowdown at that section, the slowdown that I had in lap 1. I had it a few times in practice. And obviously it's very rare. But of course it had to happen in this step. So here it comes. This was a nicely executed identity. Really happy with this one. And I was up to 7th at this point. So multiple players have had a bit of struggle here. And I was able to get up to 7th. So I was back in the green. But that doesn't mean you're safe. Lap 5. So 2 more identities. And the gap down to the red was not too big. So let's see what's gonna happen. This drift is a bit ass. You see me take a very weird line for the drift. The problem with the drift is when you take it too well, you will get into the upper gear. And the upper gear is very hard to handle. And very often you will switch from the upper gear to the lower gear in the upcoming jump, which in hindsight is going to kill your speed. So ideally, you do want to avoid gear changes like that. Unnecessary gear changes are always bad. So ideally, you do want to stay in the lower gear or keep the higher gear, but that's very difficult. So I purposefully did that drift a bit worse, so I stayed in the lower gear. Lap 5, once again, good. And I was up to 6th, so once again, someone in front of me died. Not sure by how much, but someone died, and that was all that mattered. So I was up to 6th. going into lap number 6. And at this point, I knew I had it if I don't completely throw it out the window at the end of this track. I knew I had it. Because I had a gap of like 5 seconds down to the red positions. So the only thing that could have fucked me up was dying at the end. So I took it very conservatively, knowing what's on the line. It was 20 points on the line, that is a lot. So a bit of a shitty dirt section here, but all good. Taking a look at the gaps, I was almost 1 second behind Spam for 5th, and I was more than 1 second ahead of Coco. So my 6th place was absolutely set in stone. No matter what happened, unless I make a mistake. Coming up to the final time, the identity, one more time, turn around the car, 90 degrees, looking good, and suck. Kappa, Pack, Tween, Massa, Spam were in front of me. That's what you think. Massa has given away his position, and I ended up being 5th. Massa, I think we're gonna see him here. Yeah, here. Massa turtled. So he died twice at the identity. He messed up once, respawned, and then he messed it up again. So Massa went down to 2nd last place. And Papu, 46 points down the toilet. Scrappy, 22 points down the toilet. Carl Jr., for the first time ever in TrackMania Grand League history, 48 points down the shitter. And also Matt, unfortunately, had to say goodbye to 14 points that he was able to clinch in on the previous 3 tracks. So this track was quite a plot twist. Big points being lost. And the biggest loser of this one being Massa. Undoubtedly. He did very well, and then it went down the toilet. So you see Carl Jr. writing in the chat, "My brain is a peanut, I forgot how to turn. I forgot to turn at the identity." And that's what I said, he messed up. So I just question marked him. And he was like, "Yup." So yeah, we have Spam as the new leader. 44 points for Spam. Kappa, 41. Tween, 38. Pack, to 34. Me, up to 5th place with 29 points. And then we have Aurel, 21. Coco, 19. Roland, 19. And all of the others who have lost their points. Matt, Carl, Marcin, Revo, Scrappy, Bren, Massa, Papu. Big names with no points. Map 5. My best track.
Should I buy Trademark 2?
Should you buy Trademark 2? I think you should definitely buy Trademark 2. Definitely give it a try, man. Heap, thank you for the resub. Go ahead and get yourself Team 2 right now. So, back to the action. Map 5, Bunnyhop. My best map. A map where I knew I could fight for the victory. I knew I could fight for the jackpot. The jackpot, as I said earlier, what Papu had. 20 points for map win, 100 euro for map win, and fastest lap time. I knew I had what it takes to do the jackpot here in map 5. So the pressure was definitely on here for me. But I knew I could do it. I knew I could do it. Lordy, also resubbing with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much for that one as well. Welcome back. Thank you for supporting. And the warm-up is now slowly but surely coming to an end here. So a lot was on the line. I really wanted to prove myself here. And I wanted to take home the first map win in the TrackMania Grand League for me. Let's see if it's going to happen. Map 5. I'm going to go into this with 29 points. So if I get 9th or worse, I'm going to lose all points. And I'm only going to get the points that are worth for that respective position. which is not a lot. So, not the greatest start here. I am not happy with that start. 17.8. I could drive starts that were 17.6. I had high standards here. But it was still a good start. I knew I could do better, but it was a good start. Oh yeah, let's keep watching here. This is a track built by Nadeo. And as you can see, it is definitely built in a completely different map style than the other ones that you've seen so far. Most of the other maps have been built by community members. Except for map 3 with the Neo slides, or no slides in my case. That one was also built by Nadeo. But yeah, this was definitely my favorite track. I felt super comfortable on it. This one was putting together so many of my strengths. Such as precise driving, weird drifts, dirt at low speed, and bumpers. I have developed myself a very, very consistent, fast, and reliable strat for the bumpers. Which, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people copied from me. So, yeah. Please transfer some money for copying my lines here. At this point, I was second. Behind Kappa, who was contesting me quite a lot of times during our practice sessions together. We did play a bit together, and he showed a very good pace. Kappa was the biggest opponent on paper, and also here in the first 2 laps he showed that he wanted to beat me. I was maybe a bit too cocky about this one, and that might have fueled his motivation a little bit. So at this point I was 2600ths behind Kappa in lap 2. Didn't have the greatest section here. Took it a bit too safe. So Kappa got away 0.4 ahead. Very risky approach. Shouldn't have done it like this, but it worked out. And with a 1:10.1 lap time, which is what I would consider good on a consistent base, I was able to get closer to Kappa again, 0.2 behind at this point. So you saw it in the bottom right, 3100 entering lap 3, the dirt part. Do I release all the way through the bumpers? I do adjust my line, or I do adjust my speed. Because my strat, as you can see, is that I double bounce the forward bumpers. So I need to release a couple times so I land good enough. If that makes sense. So I was able to close in a little bit to Kappa. It was only 1/10 of a second. But once again here, I just didn't hit my line. I never hit my line here. That actually kind of tilted me. So once again, I lost 0.3 of a second. That was kind of upsetting, because I could do it a lot better. And without these mistakes, I could have been first. Lap 4, and I was 0.4 behind. Very close race. Very, very, very close race. We had an insane battle. I think from an outside perspective, this battle was absolutely juicy to watch. So at this point, we were pretty much neck and neck. We were equal to each other. And here I was first. I was 500 ahead. So I was like, okay, yes, I have him by the balls now. Also pretty good zigzag, but then I got airtime. I went a bit too fast up the hill, and I lost the advantage that I was able to get from the dirt. So the 0.2 advantage diminished, and it was once again equal to Mr. Kappa, who is of course your champion from the TrackMania Grand League beta season. So once again, look at it, 1700s. Absolutely unbelievable. This battle has been a back and forth. It was so fun to play this. And we both, like, we were on another level that even if we made smaller mistakes, we would have still kept our positions. So now the next lap coming up here. This is lap number 5, and it is still 1700s between us. After 5 minutes of driving, only 1700s. We have had absolutely the same pace. So look at that, 900s, man. 9 freaking hundreds. This wallbang luckily was a little bit better, but Kappa got it equally well. 1600s going into this drift, which I took a little wide, but it wasn't bad, because I was able to take good exit speed. Now here, once again, I steered too late. I was too afraid of clipping the hole on the inside. That was probably what bothered me. That was something that I urgently wanted to avoid, clipping the hole on the inside, which I knew could cost a lot of time, considering how much speed you have to keep after that.
Great drive. Pog faking champ.
So going into the last lap, it was 3300s between Kappa and me. I knew I had to drive lap times that were, yeah, definitely 109 material. I had to do it. So I had to go all in if I wanted to fight for the map win. I had to completely go all in here. Also, Massey, thanks for the 28-month resub, man. Even in a streak, that is so juicy, man. Thank you very, very much. So yeah, at this point, I knew what was on the line. Was risking it around the holes. Good wall hit as well, good uphill. But Kappa once again got it equally well as me. Bit too tight of a drift, almost hit the wall. I knew I had to go for it. Not the greatest speed around here. At this point I was like, okay, fuck, I lost it. But then Kappa had low speed. It was only 1500, so I knew, okay, if I maybe get a good end, I could snack it. I could maybe snack him. It was only 500s. I was pushing it, but it didn't work out. I was pushing it, and I was hoping that I could hit the finish as far to the top as possible to maybe snipe him. But it didn't work. It was a risk I was willing to take, but it didn't work out in the end. So Kappa, instead, was able to get the clean sweep here. Fastest lap time, 109.96. Map win, 20 points, 100 euro. Congrats. And yeah, in hindsight, people told me it wouldn't have been enough anyway. But I didn't know. I didn't have cars on. I only saw 500, so I took my chance. But it didn't work out after all. Not bad though. I played good. My pace was good. Exactly how I wanted to play. And the fact that I was able to contest Kappa like this is pretty good. Definitely hoping for a swap of positions in step 3. So with this, Kappa is now up to first with 63 points. Spam with 51. Me up to third with 43 points. So losing these 43 points in map 6 would be absolutely heartbreaking. Aurel also 33 points. And then the others. There's a big gap here in the points. Revo 14, Marcin 13, Bren 9, Massa 8, Roland, Coco 5, Carl Jr., Papu 4. So everyone has lost their points essentially. Also, I got memed by Kappa here. Let's take a look at the chat. I will not forget this, man. Look at this. Look at this in the chat. Ah, fuck. Chat goes too fast. Look at the chat. Look at Kappa. No one can match my pace here. That's what I said. That's what I meant earlier with I was maybe a bit too cocky about this track. So, yeah, deserved backfire at this point. I completely accept the banter. I accept it. I shake your hands. And we're cool. So I got mildly roasted here. But it was all good. It was all good, man. That's what you get. Lesson learned. But yeah, really good time by Kappa as well. 7:05. Both our PBs were 7:04, I think. At least I had a 7:04. I drove 2 7:04s in practice. So our pace was definitely top tier material. Map 6! Ladies and gentlemen, Map 6. This is do or die for all of us here, especially the top 4 with 30 plus points going into Descent. Map 6 built by Firestorm. My heartbeat was probably immeasurably high at this point, because I have not been in a position like this before, where I had a shit ton of points in my backpack, and I could probably lose it here. I felt okay on this track. I wouldn't say I'm the best one here, but I'm also not the worst one. My pace was fluctuating a little bit, I would say, especially due to the identity, which you will see. But this track involves a lot of risks. If you risk it, you will get rewarded, but you can also get punished really fucking hard on this track. So this track was absolutely do or die for every single one of us who got a lot of points in the backpack. So here we go with the final 6 laps of step 2. Am I gonna keep my points or not? So this is already quite a crucial jump. Need to maintain enough speed and avoid the pillars. Small release required around this right bend. You can go tighter, but the risk of getting an auto slide is pretty high, so I was taking it a little bit conservatively here to make sure that I don't die. And here I was already 0.3 behind. You might ask yourself, wow, Riolo, that was not bad. And I asked myself the same. I didn't drive that badly, and I was already 0.3 behind. So everybody was really pushing it already here in lap 1, in the first half. Did I like the map order? Yes. The map order, I think, really suited me. So I'm happy about it. So in the dirt section, ideally, you do want to force the upper gear. And then hold the upper gear through the entire dirt section. Also here, there's a risk on the inside. Maybe some of you have seen the massive Randstein bug that Kappa received on the inside. And if you happen to get double skid marks from this landing here, then you shouldn't cross the Randstein at all. So this landing, pretty crucial. If you get double skids here, you don't want to touch the inside, because then you will 100% auto slide and die. So here, no skids, I could go over it, no problem. And here we have the first identity. The identity of this track is this downwards, spiral, kind of the downward staircase with the boosters, where air control is incredibly important. You need to counter steer in the air to keep your car straight, air brake, and manage your speed that you don't overshoot the boosts, don't overshoot the landing zones. And after lap 1, I was 7th. So not far away from the hot seat, where you could lose your points. Not far away, and at this point, I knew it. I knew it was gonna be quite a battle. Because I was also thinking that most people are gonna especially practice map 6 to keep their points. And yeah, looking at the pace of everyone in the first laps, that kind of proved my point. It kind of proved my point, because everyone was really close and was going at a really fast pace. So I knew people practice it, and it also put more pressure on me, because I knew I had to go faster than maybe I wanted to go. This was the first shaky part. I was able to save it pretty nicely. But yeah, the wobbles were just absolutely terrible. Surprisingly, I was still on 8 with a only 0.7 deficit. But this was definitely the Monka-esque part here of this run so far. I really had to think 2 bumps ahead in order to handle my car properly. Because at the end of the day, this entire identity section is a snowball effect. So if one wobble goes bad, and if that wobble is mistimed, every single other wobble is going to be trash as well. So you need to adjust accordingly, maybe go a little bit slower so that the car has enough time to stabilize again. So a lot of things go through one's mind at that point. So yeah, really close, only 0.8 behind, despite the wonky identity in lap 2. So this battle was all or nothing. And with every lap, with every corner, the pressure got higher. Because once again, the smallest mistake could have meant the rip for my points. This was, however, a really good identity section. Nice nosedive, a lot of speed, straight car. And zoop we go up to P4. So I matched the pace of the leader, who was Carl Jr. And I was feeling a bit safe at this point, but not a lot. Going up to 4th was definitely relieving. Seeing P4 was definitely relieving. Also, this was Monka W, by the way. Look at that. I almost landed on the edge. And I've had it a few times in practice. When you don't have enough speed and you land on the edge, then your car can get a slowdown, it can flip, or it can send you into the pillars. Also this part. Let's quickly pick up on this part, because this is also a part that might look easy, but driving it fast with a lot of risk, that's really hard. So here you're coming from a left grass turn onto the road. So going from the grass onto the road, you have an elevation change where you need to counter steer to straighten out your car aggressively. So you see, I straighten out my car aggressively. And you need to set up your car in a way that you can take the upcoming corner no slide, while still avoiding all the Randsteins, because the Randsteins are also gonna make you slide. So that part can definitely burn some vessels. Burst some vessels. So in most laps, the part I just mentioned, I took it a bit safe. I released. Normally I would take that part full speed, but I released. This was not amazing. Didn't land very smoothly in the slope. And also here, back tire landing. Kind of forgot to air brake. Or I didn't forget, but I thought it wouldn't be necessary. But still a good 4th place. So that was good. Lap number 5. 2 more times. Survive all the parts. Survive the edge. Survive the mid part with the full speed turn. And survive the identity. So here, snap to the right, straighten out the car, avoid the Randstein on the right, and on the exit as well. Safe drift. I had Papu at my ass here. He was very, very close to me. But I honestly didn't care. Even if Papu passed me, I wouldn't mind, because the only goal that I had is to keep my points. That was the only thing that mattered to me. Whether I get 1st on this, or 4th, or 8th, as long as I keep my points, I really don't give a fuck. So, coming up to the identity again. Good wiggles. This was not ideal, but I had this a lot in practice, so I kind of knew how to save it. But once again, this was bad, and I thought I'm gonna lose my position, but no! I went to 3rd instead, and I even gained on Carl Jr., so apparently everybody had a shit bounce in lap 5. Apparently everybody made a mistake. So here we come into lap 6, and I am on P3. This was so good for me. So once again, avoid the edge. Check. No auto slide. Check. Grass slide. Check. Pussy release. Check. Safe drift. Check. In the meantime, I dropped down to 4th. Papu has passed me, but then again, I took it very, very safe. So no surprise that Papu was passing me there. But then again, I didn't care. Dirt part. Check. Kept my gear. Check. Now this part. Up the jump. No double skids. Small release. Land in a drift. Very safe. Big release. Check. And here we go. Am I gonna make it? Good nosedive. Into the left we go. Air brake. Air brake. Air brake. Nosedive. And I passed Papu and I got third. I was able to keep my points. Kappa has also kept his points. Carl Jr. ended up being the winner of this track with a 7:41, which is a very good pace. I almost PB'd. My PB was also 7:41 something. I drove a 7:42.5. Tween on second. I got third. Papu fourth. Aurel fifth. Kappa sixth. Scrappy seventh. Massa eighth. And the biggest loser of this one is Spam, who died in lap 6 to the pillars in the beginning of the lap. 51 points lost for Spam. Revolution also lost 14. Marcin lost 13. But yeah. I have kept my points. Aurel kept his points. And Kappa kept his points as well. And yeah, this is going to be it. Kappa won step 2 with 71 points. I got 55 points out of step 2, which is a very, very good amount of points. This is already a very solid groundwork for me to qualify for the playoffs. 55 points is a shit ton. And yeah, also Aurel, really nicely done. 42 points for the French player. For gaming privé, 42 points for him. Carl Jr., 24 points. Tween, who got the fastest lap time, 1:15.6. Disgusting how fast that man went. But at the end of the day, he wasn't able to defeat Carl Jr. at the end of the 6-lapper. Papu with 14, Massa with 14 as well, Scrappy with 10, Roland and Marcin with 5, Peck and Coco with 4, Matt and Bren with 3, Revo with 2, and Spam unfortunately lost everything on the last track. I am, very sad about that, because we were in a battle on the last track for a bit, and then it ended up not going so well for him. But yeah, still 4 steps to go. I don't think you can see the league ranking, but in the league ranking, I am now 3rd with a total of 70-something points. So it is looking pretty good for me already. But yeah, still 4 steps to go. Definitely gonna keep trying for some more points. Ideally, hit the 3-digit barrier, which right now has only been broken down by Carl Jr., who I think has 111 points now. But yeah, super happy about this step. I played really, really well for my standards, exactly how I played in practice pretty much. I matched my practice PBs on every single one of the 3 tracks that were relevant concerning time loss, point loss I mean. Except map 4, I could have gone faster on map 4, but it was a risky track, so I didn't really want to risk it there too much. Map 1 was ass. Map 2, sadly I didn't win. Map 3 was ass, but then again, map 1, map 3 have never really suited me, so that's fine. But yeah, all in all, a really fucking good step. I'm super, super happy. So yeah, that will conclude step 2 right here.